Welcome to another episode of the inaugural, the flagship. I don't know what to call this podcast, but this is officially the Sylvester Stallone Podcast Network show, where it originally was formed with the idea that the trio, the holy trinity of Rocky or Stallone, I should say, podcasters, Doug, Craig, and myself, got together and thought, let's do films that aren't Rambo or Rocky. Let's do his standalone films, much what Slycast was doing. So I guess we're taking the mantle a little bit, but I'm glad that Craig is here for that because Craig being part of Slycast, we're really grateful that Craig has his voice is heard. So first, let's do the introductions again because people might be watching this show for the first time because we're covering this movie. How do you say this movie? Is it Expendables 4 or is it
Expend4bles.
Expend4bles.
Okay. All right. You're with me on that. Okay. So, Craig, say hi to the folks and fans here. What's going on?
Yeah, hi, Craig from Slycast. Happy to be here. And Ryan, I got to say, I went to Facebook to get the link for this recording, and I saw your little post you put about what's going live tonight. And man, I love that we're still using that original graphic with this,
The
like
old school, yeah.
the movie curtains with the
Theater, yeah.
Oh, God, I love that, man.
It's
like
kind of old school. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Oh, well, there it is. Yeah, there it is on our StreamYard there at the top. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone Podcast Network. I love it. Yeah, it's still my. Obviously, I love doing the Rambo and the Rocky podcast with my host, but you guys, there's a special place in my heart, I should say, with you guys doing the show and breaking down the films because honestly, I think you're both better podcasters than me in your own right, or at least we offer different flavors, and you guys are very good at what you do. So it's easy doing it with you guys.
Yeah,
well.
I before you introduce or after you introduce Doug, I wanted to say something.
Okay, sure. So Doug, say hi to the folks.
Hello, folks. Brian, we're not nearly as prolific as you. You have what, 4, 5 podcast projects that you're juggling at once.
Garbage. They're all garbage though. It's
and a YouTube channel, right? Like you still doing those reaction videos?
Yeah, the YouTube channel is doing pretty good. We're almost nearing 21,000 subs on that channel right now. It's actually doing okay. Yeah,
I will, Ryan. I will have you that I am a dedicated Ryan Rebalkin fan. I listen to all your shit.
That's a lot. I'm sorry, Doug,
but I'm there for it, buddy. I'm there for it.
You're a good man. And Doug, what's the status on the Rocky Minute?
We're still trickling out episodes, but the good news is, even though I have a newborn at home,
beautiful girl, by the way.
Thank you very much. I am still on the mic. She hasn't. I don't know how you slow down from 0, but she hasn't slowed me down that much. I'm still
working
in the
hard.
editing booth on the episodes that I have for Rocky Minute, and I went to the old Libsyn feed. I was going to drop like 3 episodes like all at once to shock the world, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you got to reach out to me. You got to talk to me, Goose.
Yes, that's the next order of business. But I got some Rocky in the can ready to go.
All right.
We already got Ryan. I did want to say before we get started that I always enjoy and appreciate and get a little bit of an ego boost every time you share a listener comment that's come through either through email or as a comment on the YouTube channel. And I know you only share the positive ones with us, which is good. But man, I got to say that I love the comments we get and the responses that we've gotten and the people that reach out to you to tell you how much they like the show and more importantly, how much they like our interaction with each other. It's always cool to see, and it always helps me appreciate a little bit why we sit down and do this podcast.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, Craig, and the good comments are well deserved. Maybe the bad ones are too. There's not too many bad ones, but they're out there. Sean Malloy is actually watching us right now. Of course, Sean is the host and the main dude of the Must Break This podcast, starring the illustrious career of Dolph Lundgren. And I suspect he might want to hear a couple of our thoughts regarding Dolph's involvement in the Expend4bles. So we're going to get to that very shortly. This is what he had to say really quickly, though. He said, boy, did X4 not fix the errors from X3? Practically multiplied them. Let's not get ahead of ourselves there, Sean. But if you want to check out Sean's review of Expend4bles, it's on our network as well. It's on our network as well. Check it out.
Is this going to happen the whole time, right?
I think X4 is a good way to say it. I think.
All right.
I know. All right.
Yeah. The one thing I want to lead with here is I did not watch this movie in the theater. It's the first Expendable movies I did not go to the theaters to watch. I waited for the digital release, which was 2 weeks after it came out in theaters.
Yeah, they announced it a couple weeks. That's a bad sign. They didn't announce it. So when the movie got released, I was originally like you, Craig. I was originally going to go to the theater, so I was going to take my sons because my 12-year-old and 9-year-old son They watched the first 3 with me. I watched it with them. They had a great time. They enjoyed the action. They don't really know who Stallone is because they've watched the Rocky and Rambo films with me, but they didn't know really anyone else. And
the other people don't mean anything to them.
No, there's no nostalgia. They didn't understand why is this big guy with the weird accent saying "I'll be back," and the other guy say "You've been back enough." They don't know why Dad's laughing. But they enjoyed the action. They enjoyed the films, right? And then when Expendables 4 came on the big screen, I hummed and hawed, and I don't like that I did that. I was like, I'm going to be positive. I want to go in with an open mind and just leave my expectations at the door. But I waited like a week, maybe 2 weeks max, and then I stayed away from reviews. I stayed away from podcasts talking about it. I actually never watched the trailer. Just for the record, I never even saw a trailer for this film. I knew nothing about this film, nothing, not what the story was about, nothing. That being said, you then announced, or you sent me a link and said, "Hey, it's going to be out on streaming in 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Wow, okay. I think I'll just save taking me and my kids, which is $75 for film. I think I'll just rent
Save
it
the
for
money.
streaming." Yeah.
Do you remember one of the Escape Plan movies, and then it was Samaritan also, where Stallone was like pushing it hard on his social media and everything.
And then
this one kind of came without any fanfare, any like marketing, any pushing or whatever.
Well,
it came and went.
The actors are still on strike, right?
What?
Is that why?
So when you're on strike, you're not allowed to promote.
I think he's talking about during the production of the film itself.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Sending stuff from the set and.
Yeah. Like I forgot which Escape Plan it was. That's how memorable that movie was. But I remember Stallone pushing it hard on his social media.
He pushed Explore.
Yeah. And then Samaritan too. It was like this big push, and then that went quiet for a while before that came out. But there was nothing surrounding this movie. It just came. It appeared. I get it, but like, he's a producer on this movie. You think he'd want it to?
Wow, by name only.
I think he got his whatever money he was going to get. He got. The performance of the movie didn't make a bit of difference, because I think, and as I think Sean's alluded to in the past, is a lot of these movies, the way the deals are set up is a lot of the financing is worked out based on foreign sales.
Yeah.
Sly was probably like, it's not going to matter if this movie makes an extra 30 million in the United States. It's not going to affect his bank account at all.
Now, I don't think Sly was actually a producer on this. I don't see it on Wikipedia. Maybe it's on IMDb, but it's not on Wikipedia, which I find out. I know Statham was, and I saw that in the producing credits that Statham was a producer. And this was the original, or the idea when this film was being talked about years before. By the way, if you can believe, Expendables 3 came out 9 years ago. 9 years ago. That's kind of a long time in sequel land.
It doesn't feel that long.
It doesn't feel that long, does it? But it was 9 years ago, 2014. And there was talk soon after Expendables 3, about 2 years, maybe just 3, where they were talking about doing, it's called the Expendables: A Christmas Story. And that was the indication. Yeah, there was indication with that this was going to be the Statham vehicle. His star was really rising, and that Sly in his ever-aging body was aged out of the series, pass it over to Statham. And then there's also talk about the old female
Expendables.
Oh my God.
Expendables.
Enough of that shit already. Sorry.
So it's okay. We got Charlie's Angels. It's fine. So that being said, that didn't happen. The kind of COVID happened. Then this movie got made, and I was legit. I have to admit, when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, cool. I'm all for it. Unlike a lot of people, I quite enjoyed part 3. I thought Mel Gibson was the highlight, obviously. I know the biggest criticism of part 3 was what? It wasn't rated R. People had issues with that.
I don't even think that's the biggest criticism, Ryan.
I thought that's what I heard. I thought that's what I heard.
I think if we went back and listened to our Expendables 3 episode, I think a lot of our sticking points were just the lack of charisma of all the younger cast members.
That's the other big point. The new crew that we're supposed to fall in love with. I think the idea was, if Expendables 3 made, let's just pretend, in an alternate universe, it makes $700 million at the box office, like Adventure Endgame type money, and then like, wow, we really knocked their socks off with this Ronda Rousey and all these other Twilight actors. Let's get them in the part 4, but that didn't happen. So now, but this is what's insane, Craig, the tie-in with what you said there. In part 4, we're doing it again.
At least they brought back the old crew, most of it.
Well, but did they even mention what happened to Terry Crews? Was there even a line? If
No,
maybe
there
I missed
wasn't.
it. I'm
So
sorry. That's a huge glaring omission. Like Terry
absolutely agree.
Crews's personality in those movies was so big that to not have him was just it. I always noticed it, and I'll say this right now. And
Yeah, please.
this movie was talked about so much because a lot of people saw it before us. So I couldn't help but get private messages from people and things saying, "I can't wait for you to see this. I can't wait for
Mm-mm.
you to see how bad it is.
Oh,
It's the
geez.
worst thing Stallone's done in years." But watching it, I don't know if that prepared me for things or numbed me a little bit. But my ultimate takeaway from this movie was it was fine. It
Yeah.
Okay,
wasn't good. It
interesting.
wasn't bad. It was just
Mm.
fine.
Okay.
Unmemorable. It's not a day and date Blu-ray pickup for me. And I think that's the ultimate problem with this series now is it hits beats that don't
Mhm.
mean anything anymore.
Yep.
Okay, that's
Craig, hold on. I was thinking, sorry, Ryan,
oh no, please, yeah.
but I was thinking that just today that I was trying to recall the movie because I saw it a week ago, and I'm trying to. There's a lot of plot points a week later that have escaped me, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, okay, I've probably seen 1,000 action movies in my life. All right, that's a
Sure, of
generous
course.
estimate, but and maybe a small handful of the ones from the golden era of action are the ones that I truly remember everything about. You know what I mean? And all the other ones, they're good. They come and they go. I'll watch them and I'll say, "Oh, that's an okay movie," and then I'll move on with my life. This was that. I couldn't have put it better, Craig. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was a movie.
I think the other thing that bothers me about the Expendables series as it is now is they think somebody showing up on screen is enough. Andy Garcia shows up and he
Terrible.
doesn't have to do anything. You can tell Andy Garcia phoned this movie in. You could tell Andy Garcia was like, "Where's my paycheck? Where's my trailer?" And nothing against Andy Garcia. He's at a stage in his career where that's the kind of shit he should be doing. But in the Expendables movie, they just assume somebody showing up is enough for people to cream themselves, like saying, "Oh my God, another action star is here."
But he's
And
not. Like,
well, regardless,
whatever.
yeah, Andy Garcia, I can't think of an action movie he's done. But the thing is, they just think that just showing up is enough. And I'm sorry, it's not enough. It's not enough to just show up.
Since we're talking about Andy, why don't we talk about the cast? But let's just talk about Andy Garcia. So Andy Garcia is an actor that I've enjoyed throughout the years. Of course, The Godfather. What else? Good boy, I'm marking myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else?
Godfather
Godfather 3.
He bites Joey Zaza's ear off, doesn't he?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say that one of my favorite films of his. I had to double check because I was 90% sure, but I'm doing this on the fly. I apologize, guys.
What about
The Untouchables? I thought he was great.
Oh yeah, the Untouchables.
Oh, yeah,
Things
yeah,
to do in
yeah,
Denver when you're dead.
Yeah,
It was good. Yeah.
he was in the Ocean's movies. If you forget that,
Yes.
So
Terry
he was great in that.
He's fine. He's
Yeah, no.
fine. There's
He's a good actor. He's a fine actor. You never
Yeah.
watch him in a movie and think, oh boy.
You don't
No,
go to the
but-
movies for Andy Garcia.
All right. So I know we're spoiling here, but let's go through the villains of the Expendables series. So you've
Sure.
got the first one. You've got Eric Roberts and Stone Cold, and you got the guy that looked like Kevin James, right?
Who was the other badass martial arts guy? What was his name again? That first Expendables film. He's been in other B movies, but he's really all right.
Scott Adkins.
Yes, him. He was cool.
I think he was in 2.
Oh, yeah.
Was he in 2? Okay, my apologies. But
either way,
those guys are legit.
Yeah, but the first movie you've got Eric Roberts and Stone Cold. The second movie
Gary Daniels. He was pretty cool too. Yeah.
The second movie you've got Van Damme.
Of course.
The third movie you've got Mel Gibson. The fourth movie now you've got the guy from, I think it was The Raid, right?
Okay, so yeah, that's right. So now we're talking about
Andy Garcia.
Ewok.
So just look at like the downward trajectory of the villains in those series. Like Eric Roberts, he's a joke, but that dude had legitimate acting chops. And in Expendables, he was still displaying them.
He was great. He was just fine. I mean, you go look at those characters compared to these ones. Boy, we were spoiled in those first two films. Well,
but I mean,
Gibson
also look at like the bravado of it. Like Eric Roberts' character was so big and so brash, and so you remembered him. Same thing with Van Damme, and the same thing with Mel Gibson. In this movie, the guy from The Raid, he kills a kid and you're supposed to be mad at him, but you're not. Like, I didn't hate that guy. He was a villain doing villain things, but there was like, there was nothing there to make me say, oh, I can't wait to see the team take this guy out.
And his being taken out was pretty. Of course, Statham is the one that fights him at the end there in the ship. It was pretty unremarkable. The fight was okay. Here's the thing.
That's the thing, Ryan. At the end of the day, everything here was just okay. Nobody put in the extra ounce, even an extra ounce of effort to make this anything, even the slightest bit exceptional.
The only guy, and I'll say this every time, is Jason Statham.
Sure,
he's got charisma for days, man.
He's great.
That guy he's awesome, and you can give him the biggest piece of shit script, and he will act the hell out of it. He goes for it, and he's good. He's good in everything he does.
Yeah, but he can't carry a whole movie. Unfortunately, he can't carry a whole movie on his back. It's just too much. Yeah. It's too much for anybody. And that's the funniest thing. It's almost, and Ryan might be able to talk to this a little bit more because I think he's done more of the research, but Sly pieced out. And I think there was a point where he was barely supposed to be in this, and then he decided that he wanted to be in it, so they reshot or they rejiggered his character to get that. But I think Sly even knew that I'm not gonna carry this fucking movie, so let Statham do it.
Okay, so let's go back and talk about Sly and his involvement, since this is the Sylvester Stallone Podcast Network show. I admit, the one thing that I was fooled on, I thought Sly's character had died. In fact, if you listen to my Rambo podcast, there's an episode that I did with Dom, of course, my co-host, where we're talking about the Expendables 4 film, and I mentioned at that time I'd only seen half the film. Like I'd stopped watching it to do the podcast recording, so I talked to him about the film, and I showed a picture of Sly's supposed at the time, or what we thought was his corpse in the plane, and I made the comment that it was I actually thought that he died because I knew he wasn't going to be in the film very much, and Statham's character Christmas was pretty convinced he was dead, so everyone thought he was dead. So I played along with the characters. I don't see any reason why we think he's alive. There's been no indication. So I knew that Sly was only on set for 4 days, so I'm like, okay, he's dead. Okay, cool. They've moved on without him. That's just the way it goes. And so I made that comment because I legit, for people that listen to my Rambo podcast as well as this one, that's why they might come back and say, Ryan, how could you not know he was alive? So I made the comment that it was a pretty ignominious death, that there was no, you go get him for me, Christmas. I thought, okay. So I was tricked to that degree, but I was tricked so much that I thought it was a really horrible writing. So ironically, I guess for better, for worse, I was tricked because the death was so lame. That's how Barney Ross got killed. Now, however, I wish a braver, smarter film would have allowed his character to die. I think it would have been a more emotionally, if they're looking for any kind of writing in this film or any kind of emotion, I think it would have been a more emotional film had Barney Ross been killed. But I know the plot device, the red herring is that in order for them to have access to this file, to do what they had to do in the film, that's what do you call that when you use that in a movie, a plot device? MacGuffin. They had to use that. This character has to be dead, and everyone has to think he's dead to release this secret file so we can get who this person is, and that at warheads on a ship, blah blah blah. And then
how many movies do we deal with finding detonators? Can we just get rid of that plot device, finding the detonator?
Okay, so there you go with the Sly. He dialed it in, and I don't like. Here's the thing:
he phoned it in. There's a difference between dialing it in and phoning it in.
You're right. He phoned it in. I apologize. And lastly on him, not lastly, but the last thing for now on him was, had this movie succeeded financially at the box office or online or whatever streaming, they would have made it. They're not going to make a part 5. There's no way now. This didn't even garner half of its cost of just production, let alone advertisement. It's a horrible box office. Word of mouth, rightfully so. You know what? Word of mouth, rightfully so, destroyed this film's box office. People saw this opening weekend, and the word went out on the Twitterverse and on podcasts and reviews like, "Ooh, this is a garbage film. This is not a good film." And you're right, though. It's not even an escape plan bad. It actually has the sin of not being bad enough to even have a laugh at it.
Yeah. Hey, so I know we're talking about the cast right now, but Donald B just mentioned Barney murdering somebody for beating him in thumb wrestling. And that sequence, that was part of a reshoot, right? Because it doesn't add anything to the plot. It's like a 10-minute section where Sly has to go get his ring, or Barney has to go get his ring back.
Yeah,
and we get some action. We get a bar fight, but it does nothing to advance the plot.
It's to show that Sly's on the set. They're having a little buddy moment, little fun moment with Soldier Brothers before his supposed death. This was Barney Ross's way of saying goodbye to Christmas before his supposed death, so Christmas could have something to hold on to until Barney comes in at the end and saves the day. Anyways, I will
say, sorry, two things. The Barney covering up his own death by killing that guy is just it's an atrocity.
Who did he? So remind me, I lost track. Who
was the little guy that he beat in thumb wrestling?
Oh, it was him.
Yeah.
Oh, so the guy from the bar was in the plane the whole time?
Yeah, so he set him up. Yeah, he was like, he knocked him out, hit him in a compartment, and then set him up to burn
shrimp.
Jumbo shrimp in the plane crash to look like Barney Ross.
Because I saw the film in 2 sittings, I admit when I got to the ending and they showed you how they had a different corpse in the cockpit before when it crashed.
Yeah,
I had forgotten. So this was just some Weasley like small statured man in a bar who literally died for Barney.
Who deserves a beating, sure, but does he deserve to be burnt alive in a plane crash? I don't know about that. I don't know if the punishment fits the crime.
But that's insane. I totally lost. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
because I actually forgotten. I was like, who's that guy? I was like, I had nobody to ask around me that would answer the question for me.
But I will. The other thing is, in that bar scene in particular, I know you guys might kill me for this, but I do like the Stallone Statham scenes because
sure, there's Stallone to save them. They're fun.
They have chemistry. They do.
Right. At this point, they would at 4 films in, sure.
Yeah, and even though Stallone does his like overacting thing, he tries to be funny when he's not, but I don't know. I find that like when he's with Statham, it works to some level. And I don't know if I have a quote actually here from Statham regarding like working with Stallone. He says, working with Stallone is beyond a pinch yourself moment. I remember growing up watching his films, and to be directed by him and to be in a movie that he's produced, to be shoulder to shoulder with Sly is a privilege any man who loves action movies would never turn their nose up at. It's terrific. I'll do as many as he wants.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, you could say just given the opportunity to work with Sly must be like an honor and a privilege, but I think they legitimately have some good chemistry on screen.
Oh yeah. No, I wouldn't debate that.
So here's some of the problems with this film in general. We talked already about it. The thing that this franchise actually suffers from, and I don't know why, and I don't understand it, is the dialogue. I don't know how to describe it. Is very choppy. Their quips and the way they communicate to each other. I get they're trying to be fun and I'm gonna say locker room talk, but like soldiers to soldier talk, and the quips and the jabs and the jibes and all these things. But the jokes do not land. They do not like. Okay, watch a movie. I know it's Platoon. I understand it's Platoon or Full Metal Jacket, but when you see the banter, which, by the way, writing good dialogue doesn't cost a lot more money. It's like when you watch, it's just words on a page. Can we just create dialogue that works? And I don't understand how guys like Statham, Stallone, who writes legitimate films, I don't understand how they can't create natural banter. The banter is so silly and dumb that I don't even know if they're human. It feels like it's AI created banter. It feels like someone has put into Chat GPT create banter between 2 soldiers who are in their 70s.
Yeah. What's even dumber is the callbacks they did. And I hate when any movie does this, because it's a throwaway moment in one film that they call back to. And in this one, you have the absurdity of Stallone shooting a guy with that whatever size fucking gun was on that helicopter, where he shoots the guy that Statham's pretty much holding.
Right.
And then Statham does the whole like head thing. Hey, you almost got me. And that's I think a callback to the first movie. But neither one of them would have remembered that. It's just for us to point to the screen like Leo in that meme.
He
like
says, you're welcome, right? He says you're welcome. I say you're welcome.
Yeah. But then he's watch the head or whatever.
That's right. Watch my head.
But the thing is, so let's get back to the concept of the Expendables, which was a nostalgic trip through action movie history where we bring back all these action guys. But you know what a huge missed opportunity was? And this was probably because of budgets. But why not do that shit behind the scenes as well? Why not get Shane Black or Jeb Stewart or Steven D'Souza to write one of these movies?
Right.
Why not get a guys that, or Rennie Harlan, get the old school action writers and directors.
Yeah.
And if you tell me, oh, Shane Black's writing Expendables 4, that's probably getting me to go to the theaters.
And a lot of guys like from our era.
Yeah.
Shane Black he's not a household name, but like guys like us know who
We
Shane
all
Black
know, but
is, Steven D'Souza. Yeah, we all
to this podcast would know Shane Black. You'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with that behind the scenes idea of the old school, the old guard coming back. Okay, let's talk. So the dialogue. Okay, let's talk about the CGI. Thoughts on the CGI, Craig?
It's better than the Samaritan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Was it though? Was it? I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be funny.
Samaritan had that whole fire sequence.
Yeah, the fire sequence.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
And the DH Sly. The thing is, Doug, the thing nowadays is I'm so used to seeing shitty CGI that it's like you almost become numb to it. Like
I don't know why it hit me though. I have to admit it hit me hard when I saw the CGI, and it didn't go, and it didn't go away. So maybe with the Samaritan, you're right. The final battle sequence with the fire, and fire's tricky. Look, I'm not saying Backdraft did it without CGI, but I don't know. I felt this film was like, okay, let's talk about the little mini boat that was chasing the big boat. That boat, okay, the boat sequences was absolutely horrendous CGI. We're talking PlayStation 2 graphics. You had Megan. Oh, we'll get to Megan Fox. We had Megan Fox's character standing at the bow.
Oh, excuse me. Her character was Gina.
Oh, whatever.
I don't think she had a last name. I think her character was just Gina.
Okay, can we talk about her standing on the front of that little ship? And the ship's going through the ocean. The ocean had waves, and of course it has waves. But the ship, the little boat, doesn't move. It was like it was traveling on flat glass of movement. It was just horrible ship movement. Maybe it's the sailor in me, but it was horrible ship movement. People weren't moving around in any way, shape, or form. They're in water. They had 9 grown adults on a little rubber dinghy of a boat. It didn't look. None of it looked real. The CGI was absolutely horrendous. It was a big no for me.
If you're not spending $300 million and above on films like these, like you're not going to get Jurassic Park level or Star Wars or Marvel level CGI. It's just
so you're right.
But there's other ways to do it.
Yeah, you don't do CGI.
Yeah, but whatever budget they had didn't go to any CGI. It went to actors' salaries. And
you want to put something in perspective? Want to hear something in perspective? Here's a film that has no CGI. A film that we love and enjoy. Yeah, you critics can say, "Oh, the script or the dialogue," what we're saying now. But at the end of the day, when I'm going to say the film, you're going to know what it is. You're going to say you love it. Okay, it's a Stallone film. It had a budget of $25 million in 1985. Rambo Part 2. Okay, which is equivalent of this budget of film, which is $100 million. Now, today, $100 million is not that high of a budget, comparatively speaking, but that's $25 million in the 80s. Rambo 2 had no CGI. They were able to do a film for $100 million in today's money back then, and made a kick-ass action film. See what I'm getting at? Why can't we do that? It's not that hard to get some sort of stupid big ship. There was only one set. It was a ship.
You also didn't have 6 actors commanding high salaries.
No, but you had Sly in his heyday commanding a high salary. I wonder what he was paid for that film. What I'm getting at is, there you go, fine. Knock off some of the salaries. Say, look, guys, we want to make a really good film. This could have been the selling point for Jason and Sly and Dolph, and say, hey, we want to make a good film. We want to go back to that 80s style. This is because we're old school. This is the whole point. We're supposed to be an old school action year movie. Let's go old school. Why don't we do it for Expendables Part 4? Why don't we make it no CGI? That could be our selling point. Can you imagine if they said this is a no CGI, balls to the wall, A-team 80s film, action film? I think people would have been more excited by that. I think alone that would have raised the star level a couple more people say, you know what? They didn't use CGI. They used squibs. They used cables. They used... I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm not, Ryan. And that ties into the idea of getting people behind the scenes that have the same amount of nostalgia that action fans hold for, like McTiernan or Shane Black or Rennie Harlan. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the frustrating thing about the Expendables. They think just putting an aging action star on scene is enough for everybody to stand up and applause.
It worked for the first two because like you had all these monsters that shared the screen. You know what I mean? The guys that we idolized growing up sharing the screen, and it worked for the first
We had Van Damme and Sly
yeah.
toe to toe,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes. But now we've watched a ton of franchises. When do they ever, from movie to movie, as the sequels go up, do they pull back? You know what I mean? It's always they have to up the ante. They have to go further, bigger, farther, more louder. You know what I mean? They don't ever pull back for some reason.
That's
Although
that's a really good point, Doug. It would have been really cool to see like a low key sort of smaller scale Expendables movie. I'm
That's what I mean.
completely on board with
CGI.
that
Make it
idea.
like
Yeah.
some
but
sort of
what
stealth
you know,
mission or hand-to-hand combat type mission. I don't know.
if from what I read is correct, this would have been the opportunity too, because Sly, from what I read on IMDb trivia, this was supposed to be the first movie in a new trilogy.
This Christmas story idea.
Yeah, it's the I was gonna say Lloyd Christmas.
Probably a better film.
The Lee Christmas trilogy. Now, if you go like through that line of thinking, okay, so Expendables 3, they tried to go bigger, but it fizzled out. Okay, now's your opportunity to start over again with a new trilogy. Start small and then build up to episode 3 or whatever, episode 6, however they want to do it. But I don't know. It just I don't see them pulling back. Is what I'm saying. Once you achieve something,
Because that's harder to do, Doug. The smaller
back.
you get, the more if you think about it, the smaller you get, the more work it entails. Whereas if you go big, you can say we can plug in the PlayStation 2 boat chase, put a big explosion, we're done. Whereas
then they completely lost sight of who their target audience was then.
No, they absolutely did. And I think this gets back to what Sean Malloy said, whereas the whole monetary financial end of these movies, they exist for financing and whatever shady foreign financing is going on.
You really think that happened here? Do we think something illegal happened with the funds here, honestly?
What was the budget of this movie?
$100 million.
Did you see $100 million on screen?
I have seen better effects on Disney shows for kids.
That makes a huge argument that there was some kind of financial shenanigans going on. I don't know if it's money laundering. Who knows what it is, but it's $100 million is laughable. It's absolutely laughable.
That's what I mean. Again, Rambo Part 2, same budget. And look at that film. Practical explosions, the jungle, filming on location. I don't get it. I don't get where the money went for this. I don't understand. I just can't believe that someone like Statham, who seems like a pretty decent guy, and seems like you can tell he never phones it in. At the very least, you can tell that he's really trying to be Stathamist and be badass and fun. But remember that motorcycle scene throughout the ship? Remember when they're riding the motorcycle on the ship with the guns in the front? What are we like? I was watching a poorly shot cutscene of a video game. It's horrible. There's no stakes. There's no stakes. I didn't feel once that Statham's character was ever in danger. There's
no, and that's that's also always been a problem with this series. We have a series called The Expendables where nobody ever really dies.
Except for part 2. I think that's what makes part 2 so good. Is they actually dismember.
They kill Hemsworth. But yeah, that's the thing. So there's really no stakes in these movies ever. But also, there's no passion behind the filmmaking. Nobody involved in this movie feels like they couldn't sleep at night because they were thinking of ways to make this movie better, and they couldn't wait to get to the set. And
that's what bugs me, though, because, again, go back to the first Expendables, the first 2 Expendables, what your target audience is. They're guys our age, guys that grew up with action stars of, again, the golden era of action. And you don't have to put much on screen. It's like they don't care about the returns. They care about, I don't know what they care about.
Well, this film seemed to be, let's talk about the cast, because we had 2 new additions here. One was we had 3 new Asian actors, which is fine, which is fantastic. And their fighting skills are amazing. But we had 1 baddie and 2 goodies. And the 1 baddie was played again. I don't know how to say his name, and I do apologize. It looks like it's Yuwa Corny.
Yeah, that's the dude from The Raid, right?
That's the guy from The Raid, and he was, I thought, I feel bad for him because I could tell that given a better script, with better direction, he had the personality and the charisma to be a really cool, like I think this was supposed to be the Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was supposed to come on the Expendables. It was offered him to be a part of, but he didn't want to because it wasn't big enough for him. I think that was said to Sly. I think Jackie's gone on record saying he wanted to do this with Sly, but he wanted less people. I think he didn't want to share too much screen time with all these people. He made that clear. So I think this was the Jackie Chan offer, was to be this bad, because he was going to play the bad guy. I think that was the offer, to play the bad guy.
Yeah, but let's also not forget that Jackie Chan is a pretty amazing filmmaker in his own right. He didn't really do it too much in America, but
he would have scoffed at this whole part.
But if you go back to his Asian cinema career, Jackie's an innovator. He was considered one of the greatest action filmmakers working. So like, his opinion means something. So the idea that he was like, hey, there's too many people here, whether or not it's driven by his ego and wanting to have more screen time.
I don't mean that like that. What I mean by that is not that he himself need more screen time. He wanted to focus on him and Sly going toe to toe. I think that was
and that's what I mean. There's validity in that argument that there's too many people.
So that was that. So that was, sorry, I'm looking at the pronunciation here. That was Yuwa Corny. Not a bad, again, I felt bad for him to some degree because I thought this could be a good opportunity for him to be in an American movie. He's done a few other American movies, but like you said, he did The Raid, which he did great in that, and that was a fun film. Then we have the good, quote unquote, new edition of an Asian background, and that was Tony Jaa, somebody I did recognize. He was
from The Protector.
He was from the On Bak films as well.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Which has that amazing, like, single shot, like, up the staircase fight scene.
Yeah, and he's obviously he has what do you call it, discipline and whatever fighting style. You can tell, like, these actors who do this, you can tell they have that discipline. You can't just fake it. Like Jason Statham has it as well. I can't remember what degrees he has, but you can tell they have this real ability to fight like that.
Wait a minute.
He was. Yeah. Sorry, say again, please. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, isn't 50 Cent a new character too?
Where to get to him? I want to be a little bit systematic here. Then we'll move on to different. Yeah.
So no, because your math isn't adding up. I think you said there were like 4 new people, but
no, I just said Asian characters.
He starts with the Asians.
Yeah, I'm starting with the Asians. I'm getting the worst out of the way.
We're going alphabetically.
The worst. No, here's the thing. And the reason why I brought the Asians first is because I felt like watching this film that it was really heavy on the martial arts, which I thought was an interesting choice, but I thought it was really heavy on, like, this was like The Raid on a ship. It was so much felt like The Raid on a ship that I had to double check that it wasn't the same director or creators of The Raid. And it wasn't. We'll get to the director later. But anyways, he did a good job. Tony Jaa, again, did a good job. He was like, I'm a peaceful man. I don't do this anymore. Oh, Barney Ross is dead. Now I'm going to he turns into Wolverine or whatever. Interesting choice. And then lastly, we had the female addition to the cast for the Expendables. Her name, well, no, there's 2 new females. Sorry. The third, she's an actress model as well. That's Levi Tran. She was fine, but she has a recurring role in MacGyver. That's her big, yeah.
Is MacGyver still on?
No, it was a recurring role. So she was on. In fact, she became part of the main cast in seasons 4 and 5, and it ended at season 5. But so she had a TV role. She was fine. Again, she was fine. She could tell she had some fighting skills. So those are some of the new additions.
But where's why? And I don't know her name, so obviously it doesn't bother me that much. But why not bring back the girl from part 2?
I know. I know that. Yeah. So now let's talk about the other newest edition, female. Let's talk about because people are going to want to hear her thoughts on this. They're going to want to hear her thoughts. Megan Fox. She was Lee Christmas's girlfriend. They have a 19-year age difference in real life. Whether that's their age difference in the film, but wasn't really acknowledged. So, Doug, thoughts on Megan Fox's performance in Expend4bles?
Expend4bles. This was the biggest offense to the Expendables franchise, even more so than the previous. Yeah, even more so than Ronda Rousey and the whole cast of young kids in the Expendables 3. This was awful. It was just like put a sexy girl on screen. She obviously doesn't know a lick of martial arts because every fucking scene that she throws a punch, it's a stunt actress.
Right.
Obviously a stunt actress. It's terrible.
But then you've also got that scene, Doug, where she's like telling the crew what they're gonna do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're the boss now. Okay.
Yeah, why is she
second in command? Why?
I don't know. I have no idea of her status, of why she's so high up in the ranks. She's 37 in real life. Statham is, I think, 19 years her senior. I don't get why even Lee Christmas as a character went from Charisma Carpenter's character to this. I don't get the transition. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Charisma Carpenter's probably 45.
So she's too old.
Look, don't knock guys that have 19-year younger than them girlfriends, because that's the exact age difference between me and
Wait a minute, is that how much it is?
Really?
I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it 19?
Wow.
Is it no? How?
19
wait,
years,
how old
yeah.
are you?
I'm 45. She's 26.
All right.
Cut that part out.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm not. You're right. No, but you know what? Legit, you're right. It does happen. We literally have a host on our show where this does happen. Fair enough. Fair enough. But it's rare. But we know why it's happening in this film.
No, yeah, no. It's a problem in Hollywood, and it's been a problem in Sly movies for 3 decades.
Yeah. He's regularly casted actresses that were 20, 25, 30 years younger than him.
Yeah. But the other, my main problem with the Megan Fox character in this movie is the way they introduced her. It's just a bad scene.
Every scene
her psychopathic rant.
Yeah, I understand that what they're going for, and you can see the landmines that the Christmas is stepping on, because we've all been in fights with our significant other before, and you can see the mistakes he's making,
right,
and not de-escalating, if you will. But it's just the scene just didn't work, and I don't know if it was the fact that Megan Fox.
It's a combination of it's a combination of poorly written dialogue and poor acting. It's a really bad combination, because Jason had the same dialogue writer for his films lines, and he was fine. But when Megan delivers her bad lines, it comes off really bad, because she can't outact a bad line. A good actor can take some bad lines and make it not so bad.
And I get what they were going for with that scene, because they wanted to create the idea that these people had a history and they still had to find a way to coexist when they were no longer together.
But you know what else they were doing? And this is at the very beginning of the film, Craig. What else they were doing is they were establishing this is an R-rated film. And I want to get to this.
Yeah, so they could drop the F-bombs.
That's right.
Yep.
And I want to get to this point of this film. Sly himself says, I'm really excited. Sorry about this, a horrible Sly voice. I do a better job than that. He was saying, I'm really excited that we are rated. So he tweeted this somewhere. I can't remember, on Instagram or somewhere. He actually said, I'm really excited for Expendables 4 because we're going back to the hard R rating. So their idea of R rating is to curse in arguments and put dildos on the bar. This was their, you get what I'm saying? It was R rated for the wrong reasons. We don't want R rating for language. Sure, cuss words, whatever. That's not why we want our R rating. We want our R rating because people's heads are exploding. We've got arms being chopped off with helicopter blades, like RoboCop violence. That's what we want. We want it for that. Now, sure, throw in the curse words, but the dialogue and the fighting, just to curse, it's actually, nobody wants to hear a fight with cursing. Save that for War of the Roses films. This was a horrible, it was just like, look, we can say the F word again. Yay. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
I agree, Ryan. You are right. And there were some extra bloody scenes, but it wasn't anything to like. Yeah, my biggest issue with Megan Fox in this film was we're in a time now where you have female actors that are legit fighters. People that like Ronda Rousey. Let's go back to her in the last film.
Give her credit for her fight. Give her credit for her fight scenes. That was her.
She cannot act, but she can fight. So you tell me that out of all of Hollywood, you can't find a female that has extensive training in martial arts that can actually do their own fighting on screen. You want to push this like strong female character thing, but your strong female in this film, it's not her fighting. It's a stunt actress fighting, and it's bullshit because like she can't measure up to Jason Statham or any of the. God forgive me, because I know Jason Statham's name, but not any of the Asian actors, but the guys that are legitimate martial artists.
So they were good. They were good, but it's them fighting on screen. That's right.
So she can act on screen, but when it comes to the fighting, let's call in the stunt actor.
Yeah,
because she can't do her own fight. Like you can't find a.
Yeah, no, and again, this gets back to just missed opportunities, because I understand they want a younger, quote unquote, actress to appeal to whoever they think they're appealing to, but why not get she's much older now, but why not get like a Cynthia Rothrock or even like a Zoe Bell from the Tarantino universe?
Oh, she'd been
like,
great. She'd been fantastic, and she's pretty too. You know?
Yeah. And Donald B just said any woman from wrestling. There's plenty. Yeah, you could have gotten what's her face, Snoop Dogg's cousin, who was on The Mandalorian. Her name's Mercedes something. I forgot.
I wanted
Sasha Banks is her wrestling name.
Yeah.
But Donald has a great point. There's plenty of female wrestlers. But again, like, why not call up Zoe Bell?
Well, it's
Zoe Bell. Can you imagine Zoe Bell
I know.
and Jason Statham doing that fight, that argument scene?
She's phenomenal. Zoe Bell is phenomenal.
Maybe they can afford her. Maybe they couldn't afford her. Honestly, I don't know.
She's not a household name though. She's a stunt actress, but she can act. That's the difference. Is she can act.
I'm picturing that scene in my head right now. I'm picturing Zoe Bell doing that Megan Fox dialogue.
No, that's a great call.
Why was Megan Fox hired? She's box office and film poison. She's absolute poison.
Terrible.
I think she was brought on to say, look at my cleavage, look at my, and bringing the teenage boys to the screen. Teenage boys have not been interested in Megan Fox since she was fixing her car in the first Transformers film. Like this, nobody cares about her anymore.
I know. You said to bring in a younger crowd. She's got to be 35.
She's 37.
37. So
she's an old hag. She's an old hag in Doug's world. Boy, she's too old for Doug. Well, yeah, it's crazy. She's only 3 years younger than my wife, so it's not. Yeah, I don't look at her as she's so young. And it was a casting stunt. It was designed to bring men in, and it's lowbrow. Men. Here's the newsflash for these movie producers: men don't think like this anymore. We actually don't. I hate to say it, with the internet, we can look at girls whenever we want. We don't need films to do this. If I want to see a hot girl, I can go on whatever computer and see them very quickly. So just give us people that can do the job on these films. We're expecting some sort of decent acting, not a charisma vacuum. She's an absolute charisma vacuum. She is box office poison, and she's film poison. I can only imagine what she's like on set.
When I first saw her in that argument with Statham, I thought it was just like, okay, boyfriend girlfriend had a fight. The boyfriend's going to go off on his mission and leave the girlfriend behind. But when she came out and was like part of the team, I don't know. I rolled my eyes so hard. Did you guys feel the earth shift? Because I said, no fucking way is this happening. I was so mad.
All right, we got 2 more cast members to talk about. I know we're talking about the film scenes as well. Look, there's nothing really to talk about the film scenes. Hey, you know what? This is almost a spoiler-free episode, so that's pretty good. So if people still want to watch this film, they can. Let's talk about Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. So we went from Terry Crews. Yeah, I know it's black actor for black actor, but they have to do that. So the Terry's is gone. Who to bring in? Sly's co-star from the Escape Plan films comes on to this film. He is by far one of the worst acting I didn't realize how bad like when he said his lines, it was like, I am not going to emote. I'm literally just going to talk. I can't tell. Is he like big and strong, or is he just big? I couldn't tell with his outfits on.
I didn't even think he was big either.
He seemed like a larger guy, but thoughts on 50 Cent on his acting?
I have absolutely no thoughts on it. Like I said, the biggest, the most glaring omission in this film is the lack of Terry Crews and the lack of acknowledgement for why he wasn't there.
Maybe the last film he got injured. Remember, he was. Oh, I know why he wasn't there. Didn't he do something that kind of? Oh yeah.
There was some issue with
accusations or something that he said he got.
I think it was a political stance that he took.
No, a film producer had sexually. I don't think it got physical, but there was some level of harassment leveled towards.
I feel like his name. I want to say it's not fair.
But he's the host of America's Got Talent now. So I mean,
is he? Oh,
yeah.
Maybe he's busy.
God.
Yeah, it's a dog shit show.
It's a paying gig.
But I would have preferred. I can't even. Well, 50 Cent, was he the computer guy?
In the Escape Plan films, wasn't he the computer guy?
Yeah, but wasn't he the computer guy in this movie too?
I have no idea.
Like, I'm trying to think of a scene where he did something that was meaningful, and I feel like it was like, oh, we have to jam the detonator signal or whatever.
Was he the detonator guy who says we can't do anything with these detonators? That was his job to say this is too much, even I can't do this. Did I ever tell you about the time?
I got.
Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
No, just real quick. I'm reading. Cruz claimed that he was purposely not invited back because he refused to drop a sexual assault lawsuit against a high-level Hollywood executive.
Oh, that's what I thought. I knew there was some sort of, I would say, like he was being blacklisted, but there's some muddy waters regarding the production and him, and and that's why even in the third film, I think we went back that far that he had a lower part in that third film when he got injured at the beginning of the film, and then.
It's so funny. If you look at the star power of those movies, Terry Crews is probably just as big of a name as Stallone and Statham at this point.
Yeah. You can't, like, if you want to compare apples to apples, black guy to black guy, Terry Crews to 50 Cent.
That's what they're doing. Like, they're doing that.
Yeah, it was an obvious replacing one black guy with another, which is like a.
Why can't the casting director say, just give it opportunity? Here's the tagline for the film on the poster. The tagline, and this is what I mean. They're trying to redo part 3 again, which is, I don't know why they did that, but old blood meets new blood. That's the tagline for part 4. When they tried to already do this for part 3, they're like Sean said at the beginning of this episode, like, hey, remember those things that didn't work for part 3? Let's try it again for part 4. Makes no sense that is actually the tagline of the film. Old blood meets new blood. But if that's the case, fine. Why wouldn't the casting director say, hey, we have an opportunity here for any starving actors who are out there, going to readings, or what do they call that, auditions? Can you fight? Do you have fighting background? Are you black? Are you Asian? That's great. Are you female? Are you male? Whatever it is, great. Let's get all these minorities in here. Get a diverse cast. Fantastic. Like, you can get these guys cheap. You can get people that are hungry and starving and get them on the cheap and make the film better.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, Ryan, you don't even need that character. So they could have just saved money by not even having that character. But then you don't have somebody for Randy Couture to talk to.
Sorry that I'm trying to make a better film.
He's not new blood.
That's what I mean. He's not. And his character existed because they needed somebody for Randy Couture to talk to. Because if not, Randy Couture would have just been sitting there.
Okay, let's talk about Randy.
And then Randy Couture gets to repeat his stupid cauliflower ear speech
twice.
Yes.
Which again,
I know. I get it. Because Randy Couture has a problem with it, with his cauliflower ears, so he has to feel the need to explain it in every episode.
No, but he did it. He never did it since the first film. He did it once, I think.
Again, this is those stupid callbacks.
Twice. Yeah, hey,
the callbacks.
Oh,
but about 50 Cent. Okay, so you get an aging actor. You call him a ex-Navy SEAL. He shoots a couple of guys and is like forgettable otherwise. Like, what is the fucking point?
There's no need to have him. There's no.
But also, even if you're gonna go that direction, was Michael Jai White like too much money?
He would have been great.
He would have.
He knows how to fight.
Yeah, and he would have been a suitable replacement for Terry Crews.
Yeah.
He's got the size. He's got the acting chops. He's got the charisma. Man, Michael Jai White doesn't get anywhere near enough props as he should, and this would have been a perfect movie to put him in.
Tiny Lister's dead, right?
Say again.
Yeah, Tiny Lister.
I think he died within the last 2 years, maybe. Debo.
Yeah, because he's another one that comes to mind, like an old school monster who could fill Terry Crews's shoes. You know what I mean? But if he's dead, then back to the drawing board.
What did you guys think of the job that Jacob Scipio did?
He died in 2020, Doug.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Or should I say, what did you think of Antonio Banderas's mini-me?
Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. He was fine. He dropped a Mean Girls line out of all things.
Was that what that was?
When he pulled up to the shootout in the beginning of the movie where Barney died, and he said, "Get in, losers. We're going shopping." Am I the only one that picked up a Mean Girls?
I don't know that. I just want to he played. Okay, so basically, I just want to get this out of the way with Jacob, who played Antonio Banderas's character's son in the film. He was, I guess, for better or for worse, he basically does an amazing Antonio Banderas impersonation.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, Ryan, if the script had the Antonio Banderas character name, and then they called up Antonio Banderas, and he said, "I'm not doing that piece of shit."
Yep.
And they just crossed out, or they just added a junior next to it.
Sean Malloy's joined us in the chat again. He's agreeing with us. Like, Michael Jai White, Carl Weathers, Matthias Hughes. Who's that? I don't know who that is. Cynthia Rothrock, like you said before, Craig. And he goes on to say, yeah, tons of actors they could have cast completely dropped the ball. Yes, they did. I agree, Sean. So that was Jacob. He was fine, but he was so uncanny in his Antonio Banderas impersonation. It was like watching a clone version of a young Antonio. It was It was like, I guess for better or for worse, it seemed like it was. I don't know. He nailed the voice and the manners.
But it didn't even make sense for the character, because in the third Expendables movie, the Antonio Banderas character was an older guy that hadn't really made it. So he was on the come up, but he was well past the point of being on the come up. But there was no point in his story that made me think, oh yeah, at some point he had a kid that would completely replicate him. You know what I mean? Like, the Antonio Banderas character in Expendables 3 seems so laser focused on what he wanted to do, that, like, how do you have the time to create this little mini me version of you?
Agreed. Now,
you're looking too deep.
Yeah, I was going to say, since we have Sean here again, he's the host of the I Must Break This. We have not done it yet, so let's do it now for Sean's ears. Let's talk about the performance of Dolph Lundgren. Thoughts on Dolph Lundgren's presence in this film?
Did he have the first thing that stuck out? Like, they commented on the wig. Did he have that because of he was filming Aquaman at the time?
Yeah.
No.
Was that a wig or was that his hair? That's the question.
I don't.
Sean
but
might
that's
know. Sean might know.
Well, he was also. This was after his cancer battle too, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think it was after, because that was during the pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The cancer thing.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a wig. They reference him having a certain kind of hairstyle. I don't remember what
they said it was a wig.
Did they?
Yeah, but I thought because he was like the Aquaman guy, the father, right?
Oh.
Wasn't he Jason Momoa's?
Yeah, but didn't they film Aquaman like 4 years ago? I know they've been doing reshoots.
But there was Aquaman Part 2.
Wasn't it? Coming out. I saw the trailer for it actually yesterday in the theaters.
It just struck me that maybe the two were filming. He was going through cancer treatment. That could be
all right. Sean says, it was a wig. No, Dolph was fine. And there was that one funny scene where I think they referenced somebody, the bad guy, and not giving him a second chance. And they were like, hey, remember in the first movie when you screwed us over and we took
that was the one decent callback. But I actually felt bad for Gunner. He's like, yeah, but I've been here with you for the other events. Like, I've proven my worth since that mess up. But I hate to say this with Sean's presence, because he runs the podcast and Dolph, and I know this is not Dolph's fault, and I don't. Genetics is a bitch, and he's suffering from cancer, and I feel bad for his health. But boy, I felt his age in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sly's 10 years older, and he was moving around, and like Dolph's actually a year younger than Andy Garcia. And Andy Garcia seems sprite and viable and all that stuff. So I really felt Dolph's age in this film, and that was really hard to watch. He felt and moved like an old man. And
was he the sniper in this movie?
Because I think so, but he kept missing the shot.
Good. Yeah. I remember it was funny when he couldn't hit the shot, and then he put on like his reading glasses.
Yeah, but there was like a point towards the end of the movie where there was a sniper element that was really important, right?
Sure.
I think here's Sean saying there's another bullshit plot point where they establish that Gunner meets a girl online and then they do nothing with it.
Did they? Yeah, they mentioned that. Didn't they say something about that? Yeah, there's so many throwaway. Here's some other flaws of this film that I got to bring up. One was I didn't like when they were on the ship, okay, and they had to defuse the bombs and Statham comes in for the rescue act to get them out. I looked at the time of the film. I'm like, oh, are we ending the film here? Are we ending the film on the ship? This is it? Think about all the other Expendable films. They were going to bases or going to the jungle. Even Expendables 3, they had the fight here on top of the building. They had the whole, that whole abandoned city fight. I'm like, oh, we're doing the last battle on a ship. This is like under siege territory. I have a really hard time with very few movies can be Die Hard, meaning I like my action films to be a little bit more outside of things. I don't like them being contained within one element, like a ship. Excuse me. So when we were at this point where I'm like, okay, so if Statham rescues them, but the bombs are on here, and the whole point of this is to defuse these weapons, where are we going after this? Oh, we're staying here. I was like, this is all for budget reasons. Again, where did the $100 million go? Because not only are they on a ship, but it's a fake ship. It's CGI ocean, CGI sky, CGI mini boats. So I don't know, why did this have to happen on a ship? What was the reason for that, and why did it have to end on the ship? I felt very let down by the whole ship. And where did Sly's copter come from? Anyways, sorry. Thoughts? Anyone?
No, you're right. They again, it's bare minimum filmmaking.
And how did Barney Ross know that Statham was outnumbered, outgunned? This was like the last hurrah. So he comes in with this armament of weapons and just lays out the bad guys, all but, of course, Andy Garcia's character, to the last moment there where they have some sort of discussion. He gets blown to pieces. I don't know how Barney knew to come in when he came in. Does anyone know how that happened? Or
because the scriptwriter said, page 98, Barney flies in and saves the day.
And why?
You're infected by Craig just looking into this too much.
And there's something that's happened through this whole series which I can't stand. I'm in the military, I'm in the Navy, and we wear what's called headdress, which is your beret or your cap or whatever. I can't stand it when films do this, because in real life, in battle, that I could be wrong, but these guys aren't gonna be wearing, like, the fact that Barney's wearing his beret in the helicopter. Like, why bother wearing the official Expendables uniform? Like, it's like a costume. It's like a superhero costume. What's the point? You're in a helicopter laying to waste some terrorists. Cool. Do you think Barney's boss is gonna be like, hey, I understand you rescued everybody in the helicopter, but you weren't wearing the proper headdress? Like, these guys are supposed to be badass, but yet they wear this headdress, and it's just. And then even Andy Garcia's character was wearing that beret too, and he's not wearing it properly. He's wearing like a baker's cap. It's just, to me, it drove me crazy. Take off the beret.
Do you think there was a point where Sly was like, hey, we're gonna put the beret on the Sly Stallone shop?
Yo, that's a good. Craig, you've never done a Sly before. That's a good Sly.
Not a bad Sly. Not a bad Sly. He's the podfather for the Slycast. I hope so. So, anyways, the beret wearing is horrific. But Dolph's character overall, I felt his age, but it was good seeing him. The wig, if it's from cancer, or the hair, if it's real, either way, poor choice, Dolph. I'm sorry. It doesn't suit you. It looks weird. I don't know why they just didn't keep it short. Keep the wig short. I feel bad if you had a cancer treatment and you had to get a wig, but why the funny wig? Why not just get a proper toupee? Anyways, wow.
Either whatever. Hair
put it in a ponytail. No, it's not hair aside. It looked horrible. It's distracting.
Okay, yes, it did look horrible. But when you have the cast of the Expendables, when you have the Expendables on screen, where you're showing Ronda Rousey, 50 Cent, whoever the hell else, when Dolph was on screen, I was like, yeah, all right, we're back. We're back to the Expendables, because that's what the Expendables was to me. It was like the OG guys, not all this new blood.
Basically, all the ones I care about. Randy is a nothing character. I'm sorry. I know he can kick everyone's ass. I get it, but I don't. He's okay. Toll Road and his cauliflower ear.
It's fun.
They definitely gave him more lines in this film than part 3. They're like, hey, you're one of the originals. So they gave him way more lines in this film than they ever did in part 3.
But he's harmless. He's harmless. If you stack him up like with the original guys like Sly and Schwarzenegger and Dolph and Mel Gibson and Jean-Claude, Bruce Willis, like all the guys from the originals, like Randy Couture, like fades into the background. You don't even notice him.
He doesn't have a filmography to support it. He's an MMA legend, but his filmography never warranted him being an expendable.
I hate to say it, but I would rather have seen Steve Austin in that role for all 4 films. Honestly, way more charisma, way more screen charisma. I would love to see Steve. So let's talk before we close up. The director of the film was the guy named Scott Waugh. I don't know if I said his name properly. He was born in 1970. He's done a few films. You might remember him when he came out with this film in 2012. It made waves and headlines at the time because they used real Navy SEALs called Act of Valor. Do you guys remember that one?
What was it called? Oh, Act of Valor?
Yeah. Okay, so he did that film. It was like an independent / I never saw it. I want to see it, but the big deal with that was that they used real Navy SEALs, and that kind of made it more authentic for the fight sequences. Then he followed that up with the 24 film based on the racing game Need for Speed, starring Aaron Paul. Remember that one?
I remember it coming out.
Yeah, bombed. And then he did a film in 2017 with the wonderful Josh Hartnett called Six Below: Miracle on the Mountain. This was based on a true story, apparently, and these type of films I find very boring.
You're revealing the problem with this series. Didn't Simon West direct part 2?
Yeah, and then
So
lastly,
we go from Sly
to,
directing the first
yeah,
one, Simon West directing the second one, to these fucking no-name directors.
Patrick Hughes was the third one, and then he in 2023 he has 2 films. One is Expend4bles, and the other one is a movie called Hidden Strike, starring Jackie Chan with John Cena.
Yeah, that was on Netflix. I think I've passed it on Netflix before.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
No.
There's only so many hours in a day.
I'm 49 years old, Ryan. I need to be more selective with this, the way I spend my time.
Yeah.
And the coloring of that movie poster for Hidden Strike is the same coloring choices of the Expendables 4. I kid you not. It's the same promotional poster color scheme. What does that tell you?
Nothing.
that promotional poster design is as uninspired as these movies they're making.
But it's just find it interesting that both films directed by the same guy. It's like they hired the same cookie cutter.
It's all no effort filmmaking, Ryan. There's no passion behind it. There's no vision behind it. It's all just connect the dots, fill in the blanks, paint by numbers nonsense. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. There's all kinds of reasons that we're not getting the kind of movies we should be getting anymore. But at the end of the day, it's just uninspired, no passion filmmaking.
So this is the final Expendables film, yes or no?
I think so.
Unless they need to wash some more money, there's no other reason.
If Sly said this is supposed to be the first episode in a new trilogy,
it lost
the
half
Christmas
of its budget.
trilogy.
It made $50 million out of $100 million budget. They lost at least $50 million. That's a lot of money.
Does the studio care though?
I don't know. Craig, how does laundering money work? I don't know anymore.
You can take a tax write-off, right? Warner Brothers seems to be big on that. They took a whole Batgirl movie and just wrote it off as a tax loss. Donald B says that Sly was supposed to be in Hidden Strike and he was replaced by Cena.
Interesting.
So if Sly knows enough to not be in your straight to Netflix movie, then that should be a sign, because we've seen some straight to streaming movies that Sly's done.
The reason why I ask about a sequel is because the film didn't perform at the box office. It's the first of the 4 films that did not make its money back. It was not a box office success. Maybe streaming revenue, I don't know, we'll give it more money. I'm not sure how that works.
Correct. Yeah, if it did come out, it would go straight to streaming.
You think so?
Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because let's pretend they do an Expendables 5. I guess is Stallone back in it again at 80? What are we doing here?
We've established at this point that the only way to get people to care about these expendable movies is to have Sly on the poster, if nothing else. That's the thing, is they're not even making these movies for the original intended audience anymore.
What happened to the franchise, guys? This is sad.
It is sad.
All joking aside,
it is sad.
Let's go full circle here as we close up. That when the first Expendables film came out in 2010, 13 years ago,
I think I saw that in theaters twice.
I saw it, if not twice, I did see it twice myself. I was legit excited. Remember the airplane sequence when
that whole first comes out? Movies is great.
When Sathan comes out of the cockpit and they lay waste to fry, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And stays on the front. There's no CGI. That's him in the front of this old plane that they actually bought for the film. And then
Stallone broke his back on that movie.
Yes, we're all talking. That's right. We're talking about Sly's doing these stunts. He's breaking his back. Steve Austin's in it. People are kicking ass. They were all men and grunts, and the punches were real and all. And then part 2 got Van Damme playing a kick-ass, badass bad guy. It's something like, this guy's a dick, but we loved it. We loved it. It even had those fun liners between like Bruce and Arnold, the big shootout, the mini car. It was like that fun action film sequence. And then part 3 is like, okay, it wasn't rated R, and the new kids on the block weren't that great, but you still had Mel Gibson playing Mel Gibson. He was so much fun to watch. You're like, okay, part 4 will be rated R again. And then holy smokes, every ball that could be dropped was dropped.
It's the natural course of a franchise, though. Like
Rocky 4, I hear you, but not necessarily. I don't mean. I just
and let's listen. If you're the Fast and the Furious franchise and you're dumping $300 million into that production, then you're going to suffer. Like, it's, if Expendables 1 came out and it kicked ass at the box office and they said, okay, we're going to pile out 4 more of these, 5 more of these movies, you're going to say, oh my God, please don't, because it's never going to be as good as that first one. Unless, like I said, you're dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the production, which we can see they're not, because it's on screen. They don't give a shit. I just don't think a franchise like this has staying power. And if they would have announced a 4th one after the first one came out, I would have said, no, it's not going to sound good.
And this gets back to the idea, Doug, that they think just showing up is enough. And I'm sorry, in 2023, it's not enough. Especially when you've made better movies in this franchise. I'm sorry. Andy Garcia sauntering onto screen is not getting me to do a standing ovation for your fucking movie. I'm sorry.
Craig, people are making better movies of this in home studios. Did you ever see like the rework of the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight, hallway fight?
Again, we're talking about passionate filmmaking. We're talking about people that have a true love and passion. None of the people involved with this movie were passionate about what they were doing.
So that's sad then. That's sad.
Because these are professionals.
It's like watching one of your favorite sports, whether NBA, NFL, or whatever, and you're seeing these star players phoning it in and barely making passes and sauntering down the field. And then you have these amateurs on the sideline. It's like, oh man, I can really play. I can actually do this. No, you don't have a name on your back. It's okay.
How dare they go on a writer's strike if you're getting outperformed by amateurs and you have the stones to demand more?
Yeah, no, don't get me started.
Well, I don't even blame the writers here, because the writers they're given plot points that they need to hit. And it almost becomes like connect the dots.
So it's a studio problem.
Now, before we close,
absolutely.
folks, before we close, as we're doing so now, I do want to say this is, of course, our Sylvester Stallone pilot, our flagship show. Let's just quickly talk about what's going on with Sly and his life right now. We know that he did the Tulsa King.
2.
Yeah, he did the Tulsa King season 1, fantastic show, highly rated both by critics and fans. I can't wait for season 2. For upcoming projects, yes.
But is there season 2 going to happen? They announced the season 2, but then Sly's like, I'm not sure.
I don't know why he said that. Every other indication indicates he's in it. So I've read as much as I can read, and I've been following. He's still in it. I think he was just saying he was tired, which is probably just asking for more money.
I wonder if also he was doing some behind the scenes things like, hey, my involvement in Tulsa King is somehow tied to 2 more seasons of the family Stallone.
Yes. Yeah, that part 2 is coming out. But yeah, season 2 is coming out. There's no way, they can't do season 2. It's been greenlit without Sly's involvement. I just don't see that.
No, there'd be no reason to watch it.
No.
It would be like Sopranos without Tony.
No. Exactly. You wouldn't watch it. But yeah, Samaritan 2 was officially announced. That officially is happening. Samaritan 2 is currently in pre-production as we speak. Cliffhanger 2 apparently is still in pre-production with the scheduled 2025 release. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
I'm not thinking about it. Okay. I think the same that I think about Cliffhanger as I think about this Highlander reboot they've been talking about with Henry Cavill. Like, none of that even blips on my radar. We all know Cliffhanger 2 is going to suck.
I'm also worried about it being like a pass the torch thing too. Like, he's not going to be on the side of a mountain.
He will be. There's no way he's not going to be on the mountain somehow.
Yeah, but is he going to be doing like all that heavy lifting that he did in Cliffhanger 1?
I don't know.
Or is he going to pass it off to some younger scribe
right now
that he's training?
Again, the problem with this is they think Cliffhanger 2 is going to be enough.
Yeah,
and it's not.
And Donald B over there says Marvel learned that they can't get by on cameos anymore. And
and he's also it sounds like he's just learning about Cliffhanger too.
Cliffhanger, it actually is happening. They have a signed director to it and everything.
It's funny, Ryan. Remember the old helicopter pilot in the first Cliffhanger?
So I was thinking, is he going to be the old guy now?
I bet you Sly is 20 years older now than that guy was in Cliffhanger. 20 years older. I bet you that guy was like in his mid to late 50s.
Now, have you heard about this movie that he's working on right now called Armored? It's about a father and son working as security guards for an armored truck company, encounter a team of would-be robbers while on a bridge. They become trapped and must come up with a plan to escape and ensure their survival.
Didn't they make a movie called Armored already that has that plot?
You got Jason Patrick in it, so obviously he's gonna play the bad guy. Yeah, so that's coming out. Like he's got movies coming out, guys. So guess what? This podcast has legs. We are going to be doing movies longer than we thought. We still have some of his old catalog to take care of. So before we ever get to do Party at Kitty and Studs, the films keep popping up before we ever get to that film.
We shouldn't wait on pre-produced movies though. Pre-produced movies.
We still have to do. What are we doing next, guys? Let's talk about that. So we always do at the end of our show. Is it Shade? We talked about Shade.
We're running out.
We've got Shade to do. Don't we still have? There's an '80s movie we haven't done, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think Shade was the one we still have to do that Reach Me film. I don't know if we want to. We got to do that one at some point. Yeah.
Let's see. We did Victory, right?
Yeah, we need a palate cleanser at the very least.
Yeah, and we did the Billy D. Williams movie with Rutger Hauer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Judge Dredd we haven't done as a trio.
Oh man.
What are we doing here, folks? What do we do? Do we do Shade? Do we put up another poll? Maybe between Shade and Judge Dredd, or do you think Judge Dredd is just going to win?
No, Judge Dredd will win hands down.
Craig wants to do Spy Kids.
Yeah, game over, man. Spy Kids 2.
It's 3.
Or Spy Kids 3, game over.
Reach Me? We didn't do. Did you say Reach Me?
Yeah.
We haven't done Reach Me yet. Yeah. No, that's on our to-do list. Yeah. It's an ensemble cast, all the same, but we haven't done that one yet. Yeah, we could do, or we could put. What did we do a poll? What did we do? Spy Kids 3 versus Shade.
Either that's going to be an awesome episode. Either way, I love both those movies.
Avenging Angelo. We still got to. I wasn't a part of Avenging Angelo. You guys.
Neither was I.
No,
that was one of Ryan's lost episodes.
I was Chris Goff.
His name. You're not supposed to say his name. Wow.
Feel free to bleep that out.
It's still. This is live. It's on the interwebs. We're live everywhere. No, I wish him all the best. Wish him good health.
I miss that guy.
He had a great voice for radio. All right. So, guys, closing thoughts, or we're going to close the show here. What do you think?
Again, I expected really I feel like we really shit on this movie, but I really expected it to be a lot worse. And like I said at the beginning of this movie, it was fine. It wasn't hard to watch.
It wasn't Escape Plan 2.
Yeah, but it wasn't exceptional, and it wasn't even good.
That was the greatest crime. That it was just like
Doug's forgotten most of the plot points 2 weeks from watching it. Mm-hmm. I'd say a year from now, I won't be able to tell you anything about this.
For anyone that has listened to this episode and still wants to watch the movie, I'll give a quick synopsis here. I actually have it here, and then we'll close. The Expendables embark on a mission to Libya, aiming to thwart the mercenary Suarto Ramat from stealing nuclear warheads for a mysterious terrorist named Oslet. Led by Barney Ross, the team includes members Lee Christmas, Toll Road, and Gunnar Jensen, along newcomers Easy Day and Gallon. Their mission takes a devastating turn as their vehicles are destroyed and their plane shot down, and it appears that Barney has perished, leaving the team in shock. The CIA's involvement, new allies, and a plan to avert a catastrophic conflict soon unfold. Amidst betrayals, reunions, and explosive action, the Expendables pursue Oslet and his sinister agenda, changing the course of events to save the day. There you go. How do you like that one?
Just for the record, Craig, I read that the name Easy Day was homage to a Navy SEALs battle cry. The only easy day was yesterday.
Okay.
There you go. Which ties in with the director and his Navy SEAL connection.
And I believe that Randy Couture actually says that in the film. The only easy day was yesterday.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So next episode, I don't know. I need a palate cleanser. Do we just make a call, or do you want to vote? Which one do you guys want?
We haven't put out a vote in a while.
We'll
do like a 3-way vote.
Three-way vote? Okay.
Yeah. We got
the 3-way vote cannot include Judge Dredd.
You're right.
No, that's fine. Because
we could do Shade,
Avenging Angelo.
Oh yeah, let's do Avenging Angelo, Shade,
and
Spy Kids 3. That's a good 3-way. Okay.
All right. We'll go with that.
And the next time we say 3-way, will be when we do Party Kitty and Studs. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I can't wait to do that film with you guys. All right, guys. This has been an absolute joy and pleasure, and hopefully it won't be as long between episodes. So we'll look to late November. Let's try to look to late November to do another Stallone production. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Watch us live and watch us on the channels and listen to us on the podcast.
Farewell.